One day, Thomas was at the junction when Gordon shuffled in with some freight cars.
Phew,
Remarked Thomas.
what a funny smell.
Can you smell a smell? I can't smell a smell, said Annie.
A funny, musty sort of smell,
Said Thomas.
No one noticed it till you did,
Grunted Gordon.
It must be yours.
Not long ago, he had fallen into a dirty ditch. Thomas enjoyed teasing him about it.
Annie, Clarabelle, do you know what I think it is? It's ditch water.
Before Gordon could answer, Thomas puffed away. Annie and Clarabelle could hardly believe their ears.
He's dreadfully rude. I feel quite ashamed. I feel quite ashamed. He's dreadfully rude.
And to Thomas they said, "You mustn't be rude. You make us ashamed." But Thomas didn't care a bit.
That was funny. That was funny,
He chuckled. He felt very pleased with himself. Annie and Clarabelle were deeply shocked. They had great respect for Gordon, the big engine. Thomas left the coaches at the station and went off to a mine for some cars. Long ago, miners digging for lead had made tunnels under the ground. Their roofs are strong enough to hold up cars, but not the weight of engines. A large notice warns them not to enter the area. Danger! Engines must not pass this board. Silly old board, thought Thomas. He had often tried to pass it, but had never succeeded. But this morning he had made a plan. The fireman went to throw the switch. Now for my plan, thought Thomas. Bumping the cars fiercely, he jerked his driver off the footplate and followed them into the siding. "Come back!" yelled his driver. "Fire and smoke," said Thomas. "I'm sunk." And he was. "Oh dear," he said, "I am a silly engine." "And a very naughty one, too. I saw you," said Sir Topham Hatt. "Please get me out. I won't do it again." "I'm not sure. We can't lift you out with a crane. The ground's not firm enough." Let me see. I wonder if Gordon could pull you out." "Yes, sir," said Thomas, but he didn't want to meet Gordon just yet.
Down a mine, is he?
Laughed Gordon.
What a joke!
Boop, boop. Little Thomas, we'll have you out in a couple of puffs.
Strong cables were fastened between the two engines.
Are you ready? Heave!
It was a lot harder than they all thought. At last, Thomas was free. "I'm sorry I was cheeky," said Thomas.
That's all right, Thomas. You made me laugh,
Replied Gordon.
I'm in disgrace.
"So am I," said Thomas.
Why, so you are, Thomas. Shall we form an alliance? You help me and I'll help you.
"Right you are," agreed Thomas.
Good, that's settled,
Rumbled Gordon. And buffer to buffer, the Allies puffed home.
every year on the date of the accident, it runs again. Plunging into the gap, shrieking like a lost soul. Percy, what are you talking about? A ghost train. Driver saw it last night. Where? Asked Thomas and Toby together. He didn't say, but it must have been on our line. He says ghost trains run as a warning to others. Oh, he went on, it makes my wheels wobble to think of it. Pooh, said Thomas. You're just a silly little engine, Percy. I'm not scared. Thomas didn't believe in your ghost, said Percy next morning. His driver laughed. Neither do I. It was a pretend ghost on television. Percy was disappointed. He was too busy all day with his snow trucks to think about ghosts. That evening he came back, light engine, from the harbour. He liked running at night. He coasted along without effort, the rails humming cheerfully under his wheels, and signal lights changing to green at his approach. He always knew just where he was, even in the dark. Crow's Farm Crossing, he chanted happily. Shan't be long now. Sam had forgotten that Mr. Crow wanted a load of lime taken to 40-acre field. When he remembered, it was nearly dark. He drove in a hurry, bumped over the crossing, and sank his cart's front wheels in mud at the field gate. The horse tried hard, but couldn't move it. The cart's tail still fouled the railway. Sam gave it up. He unharnessed the horse and rode back to the farm for help. There's still time, he told himself. The next train isn't due for an hour. But he reckoned without Percy. Percy broke the cart to smithereens, and lime flew everywhere. They found no one at the crossing, so went on to the nearest signal box. Hello, said the signalman. What have you done to Percy? He's white all over. Percy's driver explained. I'll see to it, said the signalman. But you'd better clean Percy, or people will think he's a ghost. Percy chuckled. Do let's pretend I'm a ghost and scare Thomas. That'll teach him to say I'm a silly little engine. On their way, they met Toby, who promised to help. Thomas was being oiled up for his evening train when Toby hurried in, saying, Percy's had an accident. Poor engine, said Thomas. Botheration. That means I'll be late. Peep, 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 peep. Toby's driver and farmer quickly shut the doors. Let me in! Let me in! No, answered Toby. Not by the smoke of my chimney, chimney. I'll chuff and I'll puff and I'll break your door in. Percy was none the worse for his adventure. He was soon clean. Thomas never returned. Next morning, Toby asked him where he'd been. Oh, well, said he knew you'd be sad about Percy, and I didn't like to intrude. I slept in a good shed. Hey, shut up like a dead rabbit. Percy rolled up alongside. Well, he exclaimed. What do you know about that? Anyone would think, chuckled Toby, that our Thomas had just seen a ghost.
I think Thomas will be deserved to scared. Don't you?
Gordon always pulled the big express. He was proud of being the only engine strong enough to do so. It was full of important people, like Sir Topham Hatt, and Gordon was seeing how fast he could go. Hurry, 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 he said. Trickety-trock, 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 said the coaches. In a minute, Gordon would see the tunnel where Henry stood bricked up and lonely.
Oh, dear. Why did I worry about rain spoiling my lovely coat of paint? I'd like to come out of the tunnel. I'm going to poop poop at Henry, said Gordon. He was almost there when, whoosh! And there was proud Gordon going slower and slower in a cloud of steam. His driver stopped the train.
What has happened to me?
Asked Gordon.
I feel so weak.
You burst your safety valve, said the driver. You can't pull the train anymore.
Oh, dear, said Gordon. We were going so nicely, too. And look, there's Henry laughing at me.
Everyone came to see Gordon.
Said Sir Topham Hatt. These big engines are always causing me trouble. Send for another engine at once.
While the conductor went to find one, they uncoupled Gordon, who had enough puff to slink onto the siding out of the way. Edward was the only engine left. I'll come and try.
Pooh, said Gordon. That's no use. Edward can't push the train.
Kind Edward puffed and pushed and pushed and puffed, but he couldn't move the heavy coaches.
I told you so,
said Gordon.
Why not let Henry try?
Yes, said Sir Topham Hatt.
I will.
Will you help pull this train, Henry? Oh, yes, said Henry. When Henry had got up steam, he puffed out. He was dirty and covered with cobwebs. Oh, I'm stiff, he groaned. Have a run to ease your joints and find a turntable, said Sir Topham Hatt. When Henry came back, he felt much better. Then they coupled him up. Beep, beep, said Edward. I'm ready. Beep, 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 said Henry. So am I. Pull hard, we'll do it. Pull hard, we'll do it. They puffed together. We've done it together, we've done it together, said Edward and Henry. You've done it, hooray! You've done it, hooray! Sang the coaches. Everyone was excited. Sir Topham Hatt leaned out of the window to wave at Edward and Henry. But the train was going so fast that his hat blew off into a field where a goat ate it for tea. They never stopped till they came to the station at the end of the line. The passengers all said thank you, and Sir Topham Hatt promised Henry a new coat of paint. On their way home, Edward and Henry helped Gordon back to the shed. All three engines are now great friends. Henry doesn't mind the rain now. He knows that the best way to keep his paint nice is not to run into tunnels, but to ask his driver to rub him down when the day's work is over. One day, Edward was in the shed where he lived with the other engines. They were all bigger than Edward and boasted about it.
The driver won't choose you again, said Gordon. He wants strong engines like us.
But the driver and fireman felt sorry for Edward. Would you like to come out today? Oh, yes, please, said Edward. So they lit his fire, made lots of steam, and Edward puffed away. The other engines were very cross at being left behind. Edward worked hard all day. The coaches thought he was very kind, and the driver was very pleased.
I'm going out again tomorrow, Edward told the other engines that night. What do you think of that? But he didn't hear what they thought, for he was so tired and happy that he fell asleep at once. Next morning, Edward woke up to find nothing had changed. Gordon was still boasting. You watch me, little Edward, as I rush through with the express. That will be a splendid sight for you. Goodbye, little Edward. Look out for me this afternoon. Edward went off to do some shunting. He liked shunting. It was fun playing with freight cars. He would come up quietly and give them a push. Then he would stop, and the silly freight cars would go bump into each other. "Oh!" they cried. "Whatever is happening?" Edward played till there were no more freight cars. Then he stopped to rest. Presently, he heard a whistle. Gordon was cross. Instead of nice shining coaches, he was pulling a dirty freight train. "A freight train, a freight train, a freight train," he grumbled. "The shame of it, the shame of it, oh, the shame of it." Edward laughed and went to find some more freight cars. Then there was trouble. "Gordon can't get up the hill," the porter called to Edward's driver. "Will you take Edward and push him, please?" Before he realized it, Gordon found himself at the top of the hill. "I've done it! I've done it! I've done it!" he said proudly. He forgot all about kind Edward and didn't say thank you. Edward was left out of breath and far behind, but he was happy because he had... Once an engine attached to a train was afraid of a few drops of rain. It went into a tunnel and squeaked through its funnel and wouldn't come out again. The engine's name is Henry. His driver and fireman argued with him, but he would not move. "The rain will spoil my lovely green paint and red stripes," he said. The conductor blew his whistle till he had no more breath and waved his flag till his arms ached, but Henry still stayed in the tunnel and blew steam at him. "I'm not going to spoil my lovely green paint and red stripes for you." Then along came Sir Topham Hatt, the man in charge of all the engines on the island of Sodor. "We will pull you out," said Sir Topham Hatt, but Henry only blew steam at him. Everyone pulled except Sir Topham Hatt, because, he said, "my doctor has forbidden me to pull." But still, Henry stayed in the tunnel. Then they tried pushing from the other end. Sir Topham Hatt said, "1, 2, 3, push!" But he didn't help. "My doctor has forbidden me to push," he said. They pushed and pushed and pushed, but still Henry stayed in the tunnel. At last, Thomas came along. The conductor waved his red flag and stopped him. Everyone argued with Henry. "Look, it has stopped raining," they said. "Yes, but it will begin again soon," said Henry. "And what would become of my green paint with red stripes then?" Thomas pushed and puffed and pushed as hard as ever he could. But still, Henry stayed in the tunnel. Eventually, even Sir Topham Hatt gave up. "We shall take away your rails," he said, "and leave you here until you're ready to come out of the tunnel."
They took up the old rails and built a wall in front of Henry so that other engines wouldn't bump into him. All Henry could do was
stand there for doing nothing.
Hello.
and Gordon would say, "Boop, boop, boop, serves you right." Poor Henry had no steam to answer. His fire had gone out. Soot and dirt from the tunnel had spoiled his lovely green paint and red stripes anyway. How long do you think Henry will stay in the tunnel before he overcomes his fear of the rain and decides to journey out again?
Gordon was resting in a siding. Sometimes, he thought, it's really tiring to be such a large and splendid engine. One does have to keep up appearances so. Beep, 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 beep. Hello, fat face. Whistle, Henry. What shakes? Gordon, that Henry is too big for his wheels. Fancy speaking to me like that. Me, who has never had an accident. On jammed whistles and burst safety valves accidents? Asked Percy innocently. No, indeed. High spirits might happen to any engine. But to come off the rails like Henry did, well, I ask you, is it right? Is it decent? Then it was Henry's turn to take the express. Gordon watched him getting ready. Be careful, Henry. You're not pulling the flying kipper now. Mind you keep on the rails today. Henry went off in a huff, and Gordon yawned and went to sleep. But not for long. "Wake up, Gordon," said his driver. "A special train's coming, and where to pull it?" "Is it coaches or trucks?" "Trucks," said his driver. "Trucks," said Gordon. "Puh!" Gordon's fire was slow to start, so Edward had to push Gordon to the turntable to get him facing the right way. "I won't go, I won't go," grumbled Gordon. Don't be silly, puffed Edward. At last Gordon was on the turntable. The movement had shaken his fire. It was now burning nicely and making steam. Gordon was cross and didn't care what he did. He waited till the table was halfway round. I'll show them, he hissed. He moved slowly forward to jam the table, but he couldn't stop himself and "Ooh," she hissed. "Get me out! Get me out!" "Not a hope," said his driver and fireman. "You're stuck, you silly great engine. Don't you understand that?" They telephoned the Fat Controller. So Gordon didn't want to take the special train and ran into a ditch. "What's that you say? The special's waiting? Tell Edward to take it, please. And Gordon? Oh, leave him where he is. We haven't time to bother with him now." On the other side of the ditch, some little boys were chattering. "Coo, doesn't he look silly? They'll never get him out."
They began to sing. Silly old Gordon fell in a ditch, fell in a ditch, fell in a ditch. Silly old Gordon fell in a ditch, all on a Monday morning. Gordon lay in the ditch all day. Oh dear, he thought, I shall never get out. But that evening they lifted Gordon and made a road of sleepers under his wheels to keep him from the mud. Strong ropes were fastened to his back end, and James and Henry, pulling hard, managed to bring him to safety. That night, Gordon crawled home, a sadder and wiser engine.
Duck, the Great Western engine, puffed sadly to Edward's station. It's not fair, he complained. Diesel has been telling lies about me, made Sir Topham Hatt and all the engines think I'm horrid. Edward smiled.
I know you aren't, and so does Sir Topham Hatt. You wait and see. Why don't you help me with these cars? I can't kill myself. They're very heavy and warped.
But the cars didn't care. They were feeling very pleased with themselves. "Beg pardon, sir," gasped Duck. "Excuse my intrusion." "No, I won't," said the barber. "You've frightened my customers. I'll teach you," and he lathered Duck's face all over. Poor Duck. Thomas was helping to pull the cars away when Sir Topham Hatt arrived.
You had some confusingly for Ford.
"I do not like engines popping through my walls," fumed the barber. "I appreciate your feelings," said Sir Topham Hatt, "but you must know that this engine and his crew have prevented a serious accident.
It was a very close shave.
Oh, said the barber. Oh, excuse me.
He filled a basin of water to wash Duck's face.
I'm sorry. I didn't know you were being a brave engine.
That's all right, sir. I didn't know that either.
You were very brave indeed, said Sir Topham Hatt. I'm proud of you.
And I'm excited to get you back for you home. Rusty, your friends are gonna be apologizing, especially Gordon, James, and Henry. Well, I say no more, or I shall be spoiled in the next story.
I'm not happy, complained Gordon. Your firebox is out of order, said James. No wonder, after all that coal you had yesterday. Hard work brings good appetite, snapped Gordon. You wouldn't understand. I know, put in Duck brightly. It's boiler ache. I warned you about that standpipe on the other railway, but you drank gallons. It's not boiler ache, protested Gordon. It's of course it is, said Henry. That water's bad. It furs up your tubes. Your boiler must be very vulgar, said Gordon huffily. Gordon backed down on his train, hissing mournfully. Cheer up, Gordon, said the Fat Controller. I can't, sir. The others say I've got boiler ache, but I haven't, sir. I keep thinking about the dreadful state of the world, sir. Is it true, sir, what the diesels say? What do they say? They boast that they've abolished steam, sir. Yes, Gordon, it is true. What, sir? All my Doncaster brothers drawn the same time as me? All gone, except one. The guard's whistle blew. And Gordon puffed sadly away. Poor old Gordon, said the Fat Controller. If only we could. Yes, I'll ask his owner at once. He hurried away. One evening, Gordon's driver ran back excited. Wake up, Gordon! The Fat Controller's given you a surprise. Look! Gordon could hardly believe it. Backing towards him were two massive green tenders, and their engine shape was very like his own. It's Flying Scotsman, he gasped. The Fat Controller's brought him to see me. Oh, thank you, sir. Gordon's toot of joy was drowned by Flying Scotsman's as he drew happily alongside. Next day, the two engines were photographed side by side. You've changed a lot, smiled Flying Scotsman. I had a rebuild at Crewe. They didn't do a proper Doncaster job, of course, but it serves. I had a rebuild, too, and looked hideous. But my owner said I was an extra special engine and made them give me back my proper shape. Is that why you have two tenders, being special? No, you'd hardly believe it, Gordon, but over there, there's hardly any coal and water. But surely, every proper railway... Exactly. You are lucky, Gordon, to have a controller who knows how to run railways. Everyone got on well with Flying Scotsman, except Henry. Henry was jealous. Tenders are marks of distinction, he complained. Everybody knows that.
Wait a hold of a minute.
Why has he got two? He's famous, explained Duck and Donald. He was the second to go 100 miles an hour. Besides, the other railway has no coal and water. I can't believe that, sniffed Henry. I never boast, he continued, but I always work hard enough for two. I deserve another tender for that. Duck whispered something to Donald. Henry, would you like my tenders? Yours? What have you got to do with tenders? Exclaimed Henry. All right, said Duck. The deal's off. Would you like 'em, Donald? I wouldn't deprive you of the honour. It is a great honour, said Duck thoughtfully. But I'm only a tank engine, so I don't really understand tenders. Perhaps James might... sorry I was rude. How many tenders have you, and when could I have them?
5.
You can have them this evening.
5.
Lovely tenders, chortled Henry. What a splendid sight I'll be. That'll show the others the sort of engine I am. Do you think it'll be all right? He asked for the umpteenth time. Of course, said Duck. Just go where I told you, and they'll be ready. Meanwhile, word had gone round, and the others waited where they could get a good view. Henry was cheered to the echo when he came, but he wasn't a splendid sight. He had 6 tenders, true, but they were very old and very dirty. All were filled with boiler sludge. Had a good wash out, Henry? Called a voice. That's right. You feel a different engine now. Henry wasn't sure, but he thought the voice was Gordon's. The two diesels surveyed the shed. It's time, 7101, said one. That we took this railway out. It's their railway, after all. Not for long, persisted 199. Our controller says steam engines spoil our image. Of course we do, snapped Duck. We show what frauds you are. Call yourselves engines? If anything happens, you care nothing for your train. You just moan for a fitter. We bring it home, it's only on one cylinder. Nothing, boasted 199, ever happens to us. We are reliable. Vulgar noises greeted this. How rude, said 199. You asked for it, growled 7101. Now next day, Henry was rolling home tender first. I'm a failed engine. Lost my regulator. Driver's engine jammed wide open. You can't bend it till I'm cool. However, I got steam. The driver can use my reverser. But it would happen after Duck fooled me with those tenders. Now they'll laugh at me again. He reached the signal box and stopped, whistling for a row. Opposite the box, on the up line, stood Diesel 199 with a train of oil tankers. Worse and worse. Now old Reliable will laugh at me too. For pity's sake, take this spam can away. It's failed. The Limited is behind. And all he does is wail for his fitter. Spam can, fumed 199. I'm stoic, snapped the signalman. I'll take my tin opener to you. Now then. 199 subsided at this dreadful threat, and Henry pulled the train out of the way. The diesel didn't help. He just sulked. The Limited rushed by with a growl and a roar. Henry gave a chuckle. Look, spam can, he said. There's your little pal. The diesel said nothing. He hoped 7101 hadn't noticed. 7101 hadn't noticed. He had troubles of his own. He was cross with his coaches. They seemed to be getting heavier. He roared at them. But it did no good. Engines have a pump called an injector, which draws air out of the train's brake pipes to keep the brakes off. If it fails, air leaks in and the brakes come on. Gently at first, then harder and harder. 7101's ejector had failed. The brakes were already leaking on he passed Henry. He struggled on for half a mile before being brought to a stand, growling furiously, unable to move a wheel. Well, well, well. Did you hear what Signalman said? I thought they'd be laughing at me, chuckled Henry. Now the joke's on them. Moving 2 dead diesels and their trains, said his driver thoughtfully. That's no joke for a failed engine. Do you think you can do it? I'll have a good try, said Henry with spirit. Anyway, 7101's better than old Spam Can. He did try and shut him up last night. Come on then, said his driver. We mustn't keep the passengers waiting. Henry gently buffered up to the express. Donald and Flying Scotsman were waiting. They cheered Henry puffed past. He braked the coaches thankfully. Spam Can and the tankers trailed far behind. The passengers buzzed out like angry bees, but the Fat Controller told them about Henry, so they forgot to be cross and thanked Henry instead. They called him an enterprising engine and took his photograph. They were thrilled too when Flying Scotsman backed down on their train. If the guard hadn't tactfully shooed them to their coaches, the train would have started later than ever. Donald took the group. Return 199 to the other railway, ordered the Fat Controller. Henry and 7101 went away together. I'm sorry about last night. That's all right. You did shut old Reliable up. And, said the diesel ruefully, made a fool of myself today too. Rubbish. A failed ejector might happen to anyone. I'd lost my regulator. You failed? Eject? Well, said Henry. Emergency, you know. Trains must get through. 7101 said no more. He'd had a lot to think about.
The island of Sodor had many visitors, and Sir Topham Hatt had scheduled more trains. Gordon, the big engine, had to work harder than ever before.
Come on,
He called to the coaches.
come on, come on, come on. The passengers rely on me to be on time.
Whenever Gordon finished one journey, it was time for another to begin.
Never mind,
He puffed.
I like a long run to stretch my wheels.
Even so, Sir Topham Hatt decided that Gordon needed a rest. James shall do your work, he said kindly.
More and more people travelled on the Fat Controller's railway. More and more ships came to the harbours. Everyone had to work very hard indeed. The trucks complained bitterly. The coaches complained too. Then they had to go out again with fresh passengers as another. No one can say, grumbled Henry, that we're afraid of hard work. But we draw the line at goods trains, finished Gordon. Dirty trucks. What are you boiler-aching about? Asked Duck. I remember on the Great Western, that tin pot railway. Tin pot indeed. Let me tell you. The The two engines greeted cheerfully. "I hear you've lost your numbers," he said. "How did that happen?" "The mourner slyly slipped it off, sir. You don't know it is." The engines spoke in chorus. "I know. Accidentally, on purpose." The twins looked pained. "Sir, you wouldn't be thinking we lost them on purpose." "I'm not so sure," said the Fat Controller. "Now then, which of you is 57646? "Oh, that's, is just what we canna mind." The Fat Controller looked at their solemn faces. He turned away. He seemed to have difficulty with his own.
The Fat Director purchased another engine called Henry. Although a good sort, he was prone to steaming troubles, which caused endless frustration. Due to a lack of funds, engines were loaned from other railways. One of these, known only as 87546, fancied himself the savior of the line, and never failed to make it known. 87546, dragging Henry and his train into the big station. "Fret no longer," he declared, "for I have restored order to our timetable once more." "I say, you little one," the big engine beckoned to Thomas. "Be a good lackey, take my coaches and the indisposed away. I must rest my That night, a vulgar discourse greeted.
Oh yeah, what else gonna talk about tonight?
"You know," 87546 said loudly to another loaned engine, "I do sympathize with the Fat Director. Wasted what little hard-earned money he had on a mite, an antique, and an invalid." He looked across to Edward. Thomas and Edward gave a splendid effort building the railway, but they weren't suited for fast mainline services.
That is the most embarrassing thing I ever did. Running for the main line before 87546 Henry and the other engines are there? This is supposed to be one of the stupidest ideas I ever did, reclaimed Thomas.
Take it easy, Thomas,
Said Edward.
Henry having a hard time. But 87546 don't listen to him. He's probably the most one. Let's just go to sleep and ignore 87546. We have a lot of work to do.
Henry, who'd only been pretending to sleep, had heard everything.
Oh, I gotta toss her top or hat.
The next morning, 87546 awoke to a startling sight. There was Henry, hissing and wheezing halfway on the turntable. "What the is this?" "Oh dear," Henry coughed feebly. "Thought the men had made me better." "Well, get better and out of my way this instant." "I'm sorry, Edward. The passengers cannot be kept waiting. As the others have gone, you'll have to take the coaches." Edward gulped, staring at the long train.
Begging your pardon, sir, but this is a bit beyond my capabilities.
"Not if I helped you," bubbled Thomas. "Two engines are better than one, sir. Besides, the others can manage their own shunting for a while."
"Very well. Off you go. Do your best, but take care."
Soon they were on the main line. The two engines worked so well, the coaches felt light as air. Later, they returned to the big station, exhausted and triumphant. Henry, 87546, stood. "Well, well, well," smiled Henry. "Our streak of blue has returned, and in one piece, no less." 87546 scowled as the happy passengers swarmed out of the coaches. What splendid little engines you are! Your director must be proud of you. He's very happy with his purchases indeed, chuckled Thomas.
Oh, son of a bitch!
Only a few weeks had passed since Edward helped Gordon up the hill. It had been Edward's first day out in a long time. Almost all of the engines had given Edward their full support, however, two did not. Gordon and Proven were quite displeased with Edward. Proven was one of 3 engines brought by the Fat Controller to the railway on trial. He didn't have the number. Proven and Gordon had a great deal in common. They were both rude, boastful, pompous, and cocky. However, the engine never seemed to know when enough was enough. Edward backed down into the sheds one night. What a useless engine you are, Edward. I am sure we'll be hearing plenty of complaints from the passengers tomorrow. You must have been running late all day. The others gave Proven a foul look. But Edward just smiled. Actually, we were right on time, and I am very happy to be useful again, he chuckled.
Damn.
Edward knew that as long as he did not let Proven words bother him, the engine wouldn't berate him for long. And soon enough, not getting any sort of reaction out of Edward, that big blue bully drifted off to sleep. As Edward was now working regularly on the passenger train, Fat Controller extended the timetable to later into the evening. This now meant Edward, Gordon, and Proven would be running the passenger service all across the island. Edward had his doubts, but was determined to work his hardest. Fortunately for him, he ran the loop line, so only so Gordon and Proven at the big station. Weeks passed. Edward thought his trains were getting heavier and heavier. Or he was getting older and older. Gordon noticed this and offered to help. No thank you, panted Edward. You have your own train, can't upset the Fat Controller's timetable. Proven had heard everything and made a plan. Edward arrived at the big station to collect his first passenger train. When he arrived, he saw there were no coaches. Thomas must have woken up late again, he thought. He was just about to go collect some more, when Proven came hooting and wheezing into the platform. With Edward's coaches. No need to fret, he said snootily. And just what do you think you're doing, said the Fat Controller.
Okay, first of all, how are you gonna be stealing Edward's train when I'm heading destinations? I am very disappointed in you, crew. For the meantime, now you're gonna be repelled for mocking Edward to this. Said 98462 very roughly.
He was sent to the word. He rebuilt. For after what he's done for Edward and passengers, they were the coaches on the wrong platform.
I'm sorry, Edward. I should not bring Craven about him for bring on trial.
That's fine, sir.
Said Edward.
Meanwhile, in Napper Shed, 98462 stay on the shed after the But that's another story.
I rushed through with the express.
Hello, fat face.
Disgraceful.
One morning, Henry was feeling very sorry for himself. Sometimes he could pull trains, but sometimes he felt he had no strength at all.
I suffer dreadfully and no one cares.
Robbie, who's Henry?
Snorted James.
You don't work hard enough.
Sir Topham Hatt spoke to him too. What's wrong with you, Henry? You have had lots of new parts and new paint too, but they've done you no good. If we can't make you better, we must get another engine instead of you to do the work. This made Henry, his driver, and fireman very sad. Sir Topham Hatt was waiting when Henry came to the platform. He had taken off his hat and coat and put on overalls. Henry managed to start, but his fireman was not satisfied. Henry is a bad steamer, he said to Sir Topham Hatt. I build up his fire, but it doesn't give enough heat. Henry tried very hard, but it was no good. He didn't have enough steam and came to a stop outside Edward's station.
Oh dear,
Thought Henry.
I shall have to go away.
All he could do was to go slowly onto a siding, and Edward took charge of the train. Sir Topham Hatt and the fireman went on discussing Henry's troubles. What do you think is wrong, fireman? Asked Sir Topham Hatt. Excuse me, sir, he answered, but the fact is the coal is wrong. We've had a poor lot lately, and today it's worse. The other engines can manage. They have big fireboxes. Henry's is small and can't make the heat. With Welsh coal, he'd be a different engine. It's expensive, said Sir Topham Hatt, but Henry must have a fair chance. James shall go and fetch some. When the Welsh coal came, Henry's driver and fireman were excited. Now we'll show them, Henry, old fellow. They carefully made his fire, putting large lumps of coal like a wall round the outside. Then the glowing middle part was covered with smaller lumps.
You're spoiling my fire,
complained Henry. Wait and see, said the fireman. We'll have a roaring fire just when we want it. The fireman was right. When Henry reached the platform, the water was boiling nicely, and he had to let off steam. How are you, Henry? Beep, beep, beep. I feel fine. Have you a good fire, driver? Never better, sir, and plenty of steam. No record breaking, warned Sir Topham Hatt. Don't push him too hard. Henry won't need pushing, sir. I'll have to hold him back. Henry had a lovely day. He had never felt so well in his life. He wanted to go fast, but his driver wouldn't let him. Steady, old fellow, he would say. There's plenty of time. They arrived early at the station. Thomas puffed in. Where have you been, lazy bones? Asked Henry. Oh, I can't wait for dawdling tank engines like you. Goodbye. Whoosh, said Thomas to the coaches. Have you ever seen anything like it? Both Annie and Clarabelle agreed that they never had. I rushed through with the express.
Hello, fat face.
Disgraceful.
I'm not happy, complained Gordon. Your firebox is out of order, said James. No wonder, after all that coal you had yesterday. Hard work brings good appetite, snapped Gordon. You wouldn't understand. I know, put in Duck brightly. It's boiler ache. I warned you about that standpipe on the other railway, but you drank gallons. It's not boiler ache, protested Gordon. It's of course it is, said Henry. That water's bad. It furs up your tubes. Your boiler must be very vulgar, said Gordon huffily. Gordon backed down on his train, hissing mournfully. Cheer up, Gordon, said the Fat Controller. I can't, sir. The others say I've got boiler ache, but I haven't, sir. I keep thinking about the dreadful state of the world, sir. Is it true, sir, what the diesels say? What do they say? They boast that they've abolished steam, sir. Yes, Gordon, it is true. What, sir? All my Doncaster brothers drawn the same time as me? All gone, except one. The guard's whistle blew. And Gordon puffed sadly away. Poor old Gordon, said the Fat Controller. If only we could. Yes, I'll ask his owner at once. He hurried away. One evening, Gordon's driver ran back excited. Wake up, Gordon! The Fat Controller's given you a surprise. Look! Gordon could hardly believe it. Backing towards him were two massive green tenders, and their engine shape was very like his own. It's Flying Scotsman, he gasped. The Fat Controller's brought him to see me. Oh, thank you, sir. Gordon's toot of joy was drowned by Flying Scotsman's as he drew happily alongside. Next day, the two engines were photographed side by side. You've changed a lot, smiled Flying Scotsman. I had a rebuild at Crewe. They didn't do a proper Doncaster job, of course, but it serves. I had a rebuild, too, and looked hideous. But my owner said I was an extra special engine and made them give me back my proper shape. Is that why you have two tenders, being special? No, you'd hardly believe it, Gordon, but over there, there's hardly any coal and water. But surely, every proper railway... Exactly. You are lucky, Gordon, to have a controller who knows how to run railways. Everyone got on well with Flying Scotsman, except Henry. Henry was jealous. Tenders are marks of distinction, he complained. Everybody knows that. Why's he got two? He's famous, explained Duck and Donald. He was the second to go 100 miles an hour. Besides, the other railway has no coal and water. I can't believe that, sniffed Henry. I never boast, he continued, but I always work hard enough for two. I deserve another tender for that. Duck whispered something to Donald. Henry, would you like my tenders? Yours? What have you got to do with tenders? Exclaimed Henry. All right, said Duck. The deal's off. Would you like 'em, Donald? I wouldn't deprive you of the honour. It is a great honour, said Duck thoughtfully. But I'm only a tank engine, so I don't really understand tenders. Perhaps James might... sorry I was rude. How many tenders have you, and when could I have them?
5.
You can have them this evening.
5.
Lovely tenders, chortled Henry. What a splendid sight I'll be. That will show the others the sort of engine I am. Do you think it'll be all right? He asked for the umpteenth time. Of course, said Duck. Just go where I told you, and they'll be ready. Meanwhile, word had gone round, and the others waited where they could get a good view. Henry was cheered to the echo when he came, but he wasn't a splendid sight. He had 6 tenders, true, but they were very old and very dirty. All were filled with boiler sludge. "Had a good wash out, Henry?" called a voice. "That's right. You feel a different engine now?" Henry wasn't sure, but he thought the voice was Gordon's.
That's it. How many crappy old videos did they have? For cheers. I don't want to see them again. It's been 1.5 hours to be installed this crappy video. Don't ask me how the minutes are. They're very long. I think I should have been making all the remastered. Great. Great.